What if a tiny island had no oil, no farmland, no rivers, and still became richer than America? This is Singapore, the island the world wrote off, that quietly conquered the global economy. On August 9, 1965, Singapore was not granted independence, it was expelled from Malaysia. Its founding Prime Minister, Kuan wept openly on national television, calling it a moment of anguish. With a GDP per capita of just $516, no standing military, and a population of under 2 million struggling with unemployment and poverty, the island seemed to have no future. Lee Kuan Yew made a decision that stunned the world: Singapore would not merely survive, it would make itself indispensable. He declared that a nation with no resources had only one asset left: its people. Within a decade, he launched sweeping reforms: zero tolerance for corruption, compulsory bilingual education, and the mass resettlement of slum communities into government-built housing, with over 80% of Singapore's population living in public flats by the 1990s. Singapore occupied a position of extraordinary strategic value, perched at the mouth of the Strait of Malacca, the narrowest choke point between the Pacific and Indian Oceans. By the 1980s, over 80,000 vessels passed through this strait every year, and every ship needing fuel, cargo, or repairs had to stop somewhere. Lee Kuan Yew decided that somewhere would be Singapore. While neighboring nations drilled for oil, Singapore drilled for talent. The government invested heavily in building one of Asia's most rigorous education systems, making English the primary language of instruction to attract global business. By 2020, Singapore's adult literacy rate had reached 97.1%, among the highest on earth, and its students consistently ranked first globally in mathematics and science assessments. Through the 1970s and 1980s, Singapore aggressively slashed corporate tax rates and dismantled bureaucratic barriers to create one of the world's most business-friendly regulatory environments, attracting global banks and multinational corporations. By the 1990s, Singapore had established itself as Asia's premier financial center, home to over 200 international banks. By 2022, the Port of Singapore handled approximately 37.3 million shipping containers annually, ranking among the busiest container ports on Earth. By 2022, Singapore's GDP per capita measured by purchasing power parity reached $131,142, compared to $76,399 for the United States. The island that had been written off as a failed state in 1965 now out-earned the world's most powerful economy by more than 70%. What had taken the United States over 200 years to build, Singapore had achieved in less than 6 decades. Singapore's rise was not luck, it was engineered through zero corruption, radical openness to global trade, obsessive investment in education, and leadership willing to make brutally unpopular decisions for long-term national gain. Today, the Singapore model is studied in universities and governments across the world as living proof that a nation's destiny is not written by its geography or natural resources, but by the quality of its choices. From a tearful press conference in 1965 to the richest city-state on Earth, the island nobody wanted became the miracle the world could not ignore.